Hello lovely people, welcome to your favorite show, PM Personality Boafo. My guest tonight, he is a medical doctor, a founding fellow of the College of Physicians and Surgeons. He was a fellow with the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, worked with the Albert Einstein Medical College in New York. Dr. Anipam Twum Boafo, currently founder and CEO of the Constance Center for Global Health, an NGO noted for its several corporate social responsibility projects. Good to see you, Doc.
The pleasure is mine.
Doc, how have you been and what have you been up to?
I've been doing very well and really up to what you said about social responsibility activities.
Okay.
And that is what I'm up to.
I know that you're a gynecologist. You've delivered so many babies. Let's start with your fellowship in, I think, maternal fetal medicine. What's all that about?
Yes, after training as a gynecologist, we have an opportunity to train in the fellowship programs.
Okay.
That included maternal fetal medicine. And maternal fetal medicine is a discipline which is devoted to high-risk pregnancy.
Okay.
Pregnancies that may have potential to have problems, and that is the domain in which maternal fetal medicine works.
Okay.
So that is the fellowship you do after your regular obstetrics and gynecology training.
How has it been for you?
It's been extremely rewarding to have opportunity to take care of women who may have different forms of problems that may end up either in mortality and severe morbidities, and be able to take care of them. It's pretty exciting and very rewarding.
How long as a medical doctor?
Actually, I've been practicing almost 36 years.
Oh, wow. For your 36 years of practice,
that is
what would you say is causing some of these fetal high risk?
Actually, the whole stream of things that you can think of. Problems that the mother may have prior to the pregnancy, like diabetes, hypertension, kidney disease, any form of disease that impacts the mother may also impact the pregnancy. Then you have problems that may develop during the pregnancy, and then you have problems that may develop during labor and delivery, and even after the delivery, certain problems may develop beyond the normal prenatal care in pregnancy.
I was excited when I saw that you being a fellow of the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology. What was your mandate?
After you finished training as an obstetrician gynecologist, you are required to apply to become a fellow of the American College of OBGYN, and they have mandates and protocols that you need to follow, and they monitor your activities and how you perform as a gynecologist. Okay,
and how have you performed as a fellow?
Without sounding excessive, I was voted as one of the best teachers in obstetrics and gynecology 2 times by the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology whilst I was in the US.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm sure my viewers will be wondering, who is this fine gynecologist on PM Personality Boafo today? Let me do that for my viewers. Who is Anipam Twum Boafo?
Actually, I was born in Ekropong, and named that way. The family was a family of 9 children, and I was the 7th. And became a doctor. And
how many males? How many females?
I can spend a whole lot of time talking about my mother, who I think is probably the greatest woman that ever lived.
Really?
And if you indeed need to, I would use 2 sentences for her.
Please do.
She was a young, beautiful woman who was given into marriage at the age 14.
Wow.
Never had an opportunity to go to school.
Ooh.
By the age 35, that woman had 9 children.
My goodness.
And her husband died.
Oops.
And that woman raised 9 children all by herself.
She is amazing.
And produced engineers, naval officers, PhDs, architects, business people, doctors, teachers, and simply put, I think she's the greatest woman that ever lived.
Oh, definitely. I think I support that.
Motherhood and what women should be about.
Oh, thank you so much. Is she still alive?
she's passed, but everything I do for her sake.
Oh, thank you so
when
much,
you hear La
Mom.
Constance tennis program, the La Constance refers to her.
Okay.
When you hear La Constance Center for Global Health,
Okay.
La Constance refers to that woman.
Oh, wow.
She represents motherhood and the greatest woman that ever lived.
Oh, I'm so touched. And I'm sure
Absolutely.
she'll be happy in her grave seeing how wonderful you and your siblings are doing.
I think she did a fantastic job.
So
9
tell-
children,
tell-
a single mother, producing all those kids.
Wow. So tell me more about who Dr. Twum Boafo is.
Dr. Anipam Boafo is a young man, married with 4 children.
Okay.
He went to school in Achiboda Secondary School, graduated and went to Legon and Ghana Medical School. Graduated in 1976, after which I worked in Hafasini, Axim, and Takrady.
Okay.
And I applied to do a fellowship in obstetrics and gynecology in Ghana here. By the time, it wasn't a structured program, so I had the opportunity to go to the United States. And that is where I did my training in obstetrics and gynecology.
I know you were born in Ekropon,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Your parents, are they both from Ekropon?
Yes, my father and my mother were both from Ekropon.
That means that you are Ekrapim?
Yes. Yes, I'm an Ekrapim.
Okay, so they say Mope Nakwang and Eguri. Is that right?
You sound very traditional. Ekrapim for the young Mepang and the young Waune Akoto Yumuru. After 40 years, I can still speak the language.
Oh, that's nice. I really love that dialect because
Yes.
I used to live with Ekrapim people in our area, and when they speak, I really enjoy it.
It's a classical language, actually. Don't forget the Bible was first translated in any Akan language in Ekrapim.
So you were born in Ekropon. You grew up there?
Yes, I grew up in Ekropong. I went to primary school in Ekropong and middle school in Ekropong before leaving to go to Achimota School.
To go to Achimota. Which schools specifically?
I was in the demonstration primary school and demonstration middle school, which at the time was affiliated with the training college in Ekropong.
Okay. So how was growing up in Ekropon? Must have been fun.
It was indeed fun, but we realized that it was fun because of the efforts of our mother. That she made sure that we were trained well. She taught us how to be good human beings, and she gave us all the attributes to really live a good life. So it was very fun, actually.
I mean, what were some of the awesome moments, the moments that you definitely can't forget even at your age?
I think it had to do more with our interaction with our teachers. We had some fantastic teachers who were devoted to making sure that we had made it in life. They would spend their weekends calling us to come to their homes to learn. They would provide books and pencils for us, and our kids would play together and make sure that we adhere to the teachings of the teachers. And that is what really made us who we are now.
Okay. So at what age did you lose your dad?
I lost my dad when I was in secondary school, Form 2.
Okay.
So I was about 14.
And you are the seventh
I'm the
of the
seventh
9
of the
children.
9 children.
What impact would you say that had on you?
Actually, because the family wanted as much as possible to keep it quiet on us.
Okay.
So it didn't really affect us very much. And because our mother stood up to the podium and made sure that we were protected and we did well. And so it didn't kind of have too much impact on us, though we kind of lost that leadership that we would have.
And I'm sure that also brought about some challenges. I mean,
It certainly did.
Mom being a single mother, handling 9 children. How many boys, how many girls?
There were 5 boys and 4 girls.
Imagine one woman handling 5 boys. That's a lot of work.
Yes, and that is why I said that woman is the greatest woman that ever lived.
So what were some of the challenges that Mom, for instance, had to face, you yourself as the kids, because Dad was not alive?
That woman did everything to make sure that we had eating, were clothed, and our school fees were paid. And so she would travel to all kinds of places to bring food to sell. She'll wake up early in the morning and go to the farm to make sure she's farmed. She'll come from farm and start cooking for kids, sell things for kids going to school. After that, she'll go to the market to sell.
Okay.
She'll come back in the evening and prepare some banku to sell and some kenke to sell and titari. She was just an incredible woman.
Wow.
To make sure that we're closed, our school fees were paid, and that we had eaten.
Was there a time that you actually felt the absence of your father?
For most part, we did. But it was much more theoretical because the woman did everything to make sure that we're stable.
In a Kropong, were you a bad boy?
Actually, I was not a bad boy. I didn't have opportunity to be because our mom would not allow. And as it's said these days, it takes a village. And Kropong was such that any woman was an aunt to you.
Okay.
So if you behaved, any woman would penalize you. So we grew up in a family or in a community that made sure that we didn't go wrong.
But do you remember some of the escapades that as a young boy you were in, some of the adventures?
I was kept in check. I was kept in check.
You never, found yourself?
I wasn't really overboard.
Okay,
Yeah.
you were in line.
I was in line.
So what are those things that you were doing?
So you close from school, you come home, do your homework, you dare not go out because any woman that sees you at 9 p.m. would punish you and send you home. So we're going to toe the line.
Okay, then you had admission to Achimota.
Yes.
So from Kropong, now you are in Accra.
Yes, I went to Achimota, yes.
How was the experience?
At the time, Achimota was more for the rich and famous. So coming from the village was a challenge. But we went in there and we were called the Kosenyo, from the village. But we hung in there and tried very much and assimilated into what was happening, and we were able to do it. My biggest challenge in Achimota was school was that my mother had to pay school fees. And there were times that, we were sent home to collect our school fees.
Oh, wow.
And that was a challenge on her. But she did well. And actually 3 of her children went to Achimota school.
Wow. And at the time that you were sent to school, out of school because of your fees, how did you feel?
It was challenging because you would go home and I had to work with my mom at the market, and I would stay home 2-3 weeks before she's able to collect money for me to go back to school.
Oh, sad.
So it wasn't that easy, but I think looking back, she did well. She didn't give up on me.
She didn't give up. And I'm sure that sometimes you run out of provisions in school. We call it holidays.
That is one thing when I say people don't believe it. But quite frankly, I was probably the only kid in Achimota who didn't have a chop box because my mother couldn't afford it.
Goodness me.
Yes, that was the story. But I lived with it as if it wasn't anything.
Okay. So you didn't have a chop box means you didn't have provisions. Where would you keep them?
I didn't have provisions. I didn't take any provisions to school.
So how did you cope in school?
I coped by adopting friends, being nice to people, and people were nice to me, and everybody understood my background.
Okay.
And so it didn't turn out to be anything strange.
Okay. Were there times when you had problems with your friends, for instance, and they say, oh, that's why you don't have a chop box and you're always coming to me or something like that?
Not really, because I compensated by helping them with their homework, teaching them and stuff like that. So nobody...
You've got to do what you have to do. So, you did that and then they reciprocated by also helping you with things that you needed. Wow. So let's talk about the journey in Achimota. What kind of a student would you say you were?
Like I said, the way we were brought up, we're not inclined to do bad things. So I kind of towed the line. And I participated in everything that needed to be done. I played sports. I wasn't the best, but I make sure I was always involved with those activities.
What did you study in Achimota?
Achimota, I was a science student. I completed Form 5 as a science student and went to 6th form. I did biology, chemistry, and physics.
Okay.
At the time in Achimota School, we're trained to be life conscious. So it wasn't only about books. We're trained in sports, we're training swimming, we had cultural activities. So we did a whole lot of things that made sure that you could easily participate in the whole spectrum of life. The teachers were incredible. I mean, I think at the time, they were more interested in making sure that we were disciplined and conscious of our books and activities that we had to do. Yes.
So, are you saying that in Achimota you never found yourself in any trouble?
Not really, because I was always towing the line, you know. I was staying with the good boys and not with the outliers. So I was never really in big trouble where I had to be punished or anything severe, you know, bestowed on me. You know.
Wow.
I was always part of the mainstream. I was the kind that would participate in everything. So as short as I am, I played volleyball for my house. I played soccer for the house. I ran for the house. I did practically everything, and actually played land hockey for the school. And then in the final year, I was the house prefect of my house. I was the house prefect of Gadsburg House. So I ended up well in Achimota School.
Okay, so as a house prefect, and were the girls falling at your feet as the
Well,
prefect?
Achimota was a mixed school, but those of us who came from the village didn't know how to date. So I'm sure we had crush on some of the girls, but we were never able
to say it. So after school, were you able to say it?
After school, then you go to medical school, and that was no time.
I'm sure you crossed paths sometimes.
Well, we did. We had some crashes here and there, but never anything to get you into trouble. You know, at the time, we didn't have cell phones, so you never texted anybody. We just sat in corners and admired.
So was there that girl that you really had a crush on, and then maybe after school you met somewhere and you're like, hey, you were really giving me trouble while I was at school?
Actually, yes, and but it wasn't to that extent, you know. I mean, you had crashes on them. You were scared to say it, so you used the opportunity to teach them, and you know that
get closer.
Get closer.
And take currents more.
Write their notes for them and make sure that maybe after dinner you have an opportunity to sit with her under a tree and teach her what to do and stuff like that. So for some of us, that was the extent of dating, you know. Okay,
but after school, you never met those girls to like talk about those things?
Not really direct. I remember there was one lady that we met in Legon, and then we became friends, but friends at a very platonic level.
Interesting. So between the time that you obtained the MPH degree from Columbia University and MBA from University of New York, you worked in Takoradi. You worked also in Halfasini and Axim. As what?
When I finished medical school here, I was posted to work in Takoradi. So I worked in Takoradi, and from there we worked in Axim, we worked in Halfasini, in Bibiani, in that region, before I had the opportunity to go to New York. Those moments were very exciting. Those were the times you had just come out of medical school, applying your knowledge to the benefit of patients. Was very, very interesting. I remember, if I can tell a story, I was in Axim when a patient came, and the patient I diagnosed as having appendicitis and needed surgery.
Okay.
And as a doctor, I hadn't performed one beyond my housemanship.
Okay.
So I took the book to the operating room. I gave the surgical book to the nurse, and I said, please read the procedure to me. So I can easily recount. It says, you cut in the middle of the inguinal ligament.
then
you
you cut.
dissect and you find this nerve. So I dissect, I find the nerve. And then you make this cut. So as the nurse was reading,
you were performing
the surgery.
Goodness.
And quite frankly, that was the greatest surgery that I had performed.
Was it successful?
Extremely successful, nicely healed, no infection.
Wow.
And the patient went home on the third day.
Wow.
It was marvelous.
Wow.
And a week later, I saw an entourage of people coming to the house, carrying, you know, headloads of gifts, chicken, clothing and everything, because they said they had problems there before, and the doctors were always referring them to go to Takwa, a very long distance, and then you come and you perform this surgery and the patient goes home, no problems. It was like, wow, what I did, but it wasn't as honest.
But how were you feeling while you were doing? I'm sure you were shivering.
I was shivering, but I was determined that I wasn't going to fail.
Okay.
So it went beautiful. It's one of those very nice experiences I've had.
My God.
Yeah.
Interesting. But whilst there, aside performing this magical surgery, what else were some of the challenges that you faced?
Actually, I was there when Ghana was going through a bit of instability. So the equipment and materials that we needed to do the work wasn't there. So we had to manage by, you know, doing all kinds of shortcuts. But it went, you know, it was very nice actually.
Dr. Alex Twum Boafo, he's my guest tonight, and he is a medical doctor. He was a fellow of the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology. He's also worked with the Albert Einstein Medical College in New York. When we return from this break, he will be sharing that experience with us and also compare being a doctor in Ghana and outside the country. How does it feel in terms of resources? Plus, he'll be talking about his family values and lifestyles. Stay with me. I'm coming right back. Welcome back to PM Personality Profile. My guest is Dr. Anipam Twum Boafo. Doc, let's start with your MPH degree from Columbia University and MBA from New York. How is schooling abroad different from schooling in Ghana?
This was at the postgraduate level, obtaining the master's. So it was a much more structured program. I didn't have an opportunity to do postgraduate work here, so I really can't make that comparison. But Columbia University was one of the premier universities in America and the world, and I had the opportunity to go there to do a master's in public health, and it was very exciting and very rewarding. Our teachers here were very much devoted and wanted to make sure that we succeed, and it was very, very personal form of training. Going to school in the US is much more at a broad-based level where you really have to do things and achieve things by yourself.
Okay.
And I think teaching here is, like I said, one-on-one, much more personal.
Okay.
And you tend to learn a lot here because there is no technology to support you. The learning has to come from your teachers and what you do, and it was much more in depth.
You've had the opportunity to work with Lincoln, a hospital in Lincoln. You worked with the Albert Einstein Medical College. You've worked with a number of medical facilities in the US. How would you compare working as a doctor in the US and working as a doctor in Ghana in terms of resources? for instance?
I think knowledge-wise, the doctors here are extremely knowledgeable because almost everything has to come from your head.
Yep.
And there's no technology here, extensive technology to support the Ghanaian doctor.
Okay.
So you have to be adept at what you do, and at the time, you have to be able to know how to deal with the patients, what your differential diagnosis, and because there was no technology support, it wasn't as easy. Back then, there's a little more technology to support your knowledge base in the US, so it was easier to deal and more efficiently to deal with patients and come to conclusions and do the things you need to do for patients. I think because that lack of technology makes it a little more difficult to work in this environment. But knowledge-wise, I think the doctors here are equally knowledgeable as any other.
You are a founding fellow of the College of Physicians and Surgeons. What really was the motivation for?
Coming up, there was no structured program to do any postgraduate work, like become a pediatrician, become a gynecologist, become a surgeon. And the programs were such that you had to wait in line, maybe at times get a scholarship to go to Britain to learn. And so after a while, Ghana decided to establish the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons to offer the postgraduate training so that pediatricians will be trained here, gynecologists will be trained here, surgeons will be trained here. And in the process of its inception, I remember Professor Nyame came to the US to come and tell us what is going on and how we can help establish the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons in terms of curriculum, in terms of personal involvement. And I took it upon myself to be actively involved because at the time, I was the head of department in the obstetrics and gynecology program at Lincoln Hospital.
Okay.
So I took it upon myself to come and participate in the process. And that is how I was elected as one of the founding fellows of the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons.
What can you say today? Has it achieved its purpose?
I think it's one of the most valuable things we could have done to ourselves. Because before then, the question of brain drain, all of us were going outside to get our postgraduate training.
Yeah.
Now, since it was established, about 80% of the doctors that finish medical school here stay in the country to do postgraduate training. So you're getting a lot more gynecologists that are trained here, a lot more pediatricians, a lot more surgeons that are all trained here through the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons. And it's one of the valuable things we could have done for ourselves.
Recently, the conversation about STEM, science, technology, and mathematics has come up. The way we teach science in this country, and I don't know if you had the same experience, and one of my colleagues was saying, I did science, even though core science, but I never had the opportunity to go to the lab. And that's how come so many science students will finish the education, cannot even manufacture a toy car. How does that make you feel?
I think we need to kind of modify the way we teach it and add some practicality to it so that the students that come out of university have the capacity to be able to do things that help society other than just having the knowledge base. And I think that is one of the things that we actually have to look at it as a nation and add some practicalities to the things we learn so that from school, and the universities can be engaged in giving things to do. We design this instrument for us, design that, giving the opportunity and the funds to be able to do it. So when we come out of school, we have the capacity to make things for ourselves.
What would it take as a country for us to reach this stage?
I think it would take the commitment and direction of leadership to say that we're going to challenge our universities. Let me give you a basic fufu pounding machine. Why couldn't we have developed fufu pounding machine by ourselves all these years? That is something that we can challenge the universities to do. Department of Engineering, you have a fund of so much, we want you to manufacture this so that we can do things for ourselves. And that is the way we can begin to escalate involvement in science and technology.
Okay, let's talk about the La Constance Center for Global Health. What do you do there?
The mission of La Constance Center for Global Health is to use global health as a medium to bridge some of the inequities in healthcare between the developed and non-developed. So to take advantage of networking the US and bring doctors, medical students, doctors to Ghana here to show them the environment and teach them the health environment of Ghana and use them as an opportunity for them to have knowledge of what it takes to be a doctor here and how it can be integrated or raised to a level where it achieves excellence.
So you operate in Ghana and outside the country, in the US?
We are registered in Ghana as well as the US.
Okay.
But one of the limitations we had was that before we could jump on the ship, COVID hit.
Oh.
And traveling wasn't any more exotic. So we couldn't really attract the medical students, the doctors, the nurses to come here as we had planned.
Okay.
So what we're doing now, it's doing a lot of social responsibility activities to still enhance the health atmosphere in the country.
And how has the response been?
The response has been exceedingly rewarding.
Okay.
We've been able to get supplies to some hospitals here, Rich Hospital, Mampong Hospital, and a lot of hospital places. We're able to network and get medical equipment, delivery kits, printer vitamins. So it's been extremely rewarding in that respect. But if COVID settles and traveling becomes once again exciting, we would attract medical students, doctors, fellows into the country and expose them and teach them what our medicine is about and ways that their activities will help reduce the health inequities. Yes.
Well, since you're a gynecologist and you've delivered so many babies, let me ask you this. I mean, the issue of infertility is one that is affecting our society, and especially women will go all length just to have a baby. First, what would you describe as the common cause?
We live in a culture where a woman having a child is extremely important. That is how we structured. And so having children is extremely important. But before I go on, I would like to say that 40% of the time when a woman wants to get pregnant, the fault is with the man.
Okay.
So I would encourage men to participate in the infertility management of women.
Okay.
Because 40% of the time, the fault is from the man.
Okay.
Having said that, if you look at the process of how a woman becomes pregnant, a sperm is deposited and it moves out the uterus, moves through the fallopian tubes, meets an egg and fertilizes the egg and moves back into a uterus to develop into a baby. So you can look at this process and see where things can go wrong. So one, either the sperms that are put in there are not strong or enough, either the woman's uterus, the womb is such that it can accommodate the baby, or either the fallopian tube is blocked and so when the sperms get there it can't go across, or probably the woman doesn't produce the eggs in enough quantities or doesn't mature to meet a egg. So when you look at the process this way, then you can determine where the problem could be and resolve it. And so for instance, a woman may become perfectly normal, but it's the husband who is not producing the sperms. Okay. So no matter what you do to the woman, she isn't going to get pregnant.
Okay.
So it's very easy for you to do a sperm analysis on the man and resolve that problem.
Okay.
At times, the woman may have an infection that may prevent the sperms from ability to move on. You find that and treat it. At times, inside the womb may have problems. So you do an endoscopy and see inside the womb, and if there's anything that you correct it.
Okay.
If the tubes are blocked, you do a test on the tubes and see how you can correct that. And these days, and if the ovaries are not producing eggs enough quantities or enough quality, you can also address that.
Okay.
And we talk of fibroids and we get scared. Fibroids, yes, but it's not one of the major reasons why a woman may not get pregnant.
Okay.
So if you have fibroids, you can still get pregnant depending on its location. So hearing fibroids should not scare you. What we need to understand is where is the fibroid located and how it can impact on the pregnancy. And so these are the areas that we have to look at basically and determine where the fault could be and treat it appropriately.
So infertility, has it got anything to do with lifestyle?
Yes, to the extent that your lifestyle can impact on how you produce eggs.
Okay.
So for instance, if you get involved in a lot of alcohol and stuff like that, or you smoke, it may impact the way you produce the eggs.
Okay.
If your BMI is out of range, it may impact the way you produce your eggs. So those are little ways that lifestyle can impact fertility. Yes.
Wow.
Women also run a biological clock.
Okay.
Meaning that at certain ages, your ability to produce eggs get reduced.
Okay.
So if all the system is correct, age is also relevant.
Okay.
The best age for women to get pregnant in the literature is about between 25 and 35.
Okay.
Yes, before then, yes, you could get pregnant. But after 35, your ability to begins to go down. And mid-40s, you may not produce adequate eggs for you to get pregnant easily. But these days, there is IVF that can overcome some of those problems.
Okay.
In vitro fertilization that may overcome some of those problems. So the biological clock is there. And then secondly, you should make sure that you maintain a good BMI so that your weight does not interfere with your ovulatory process. Eat the right types of food and maintain a very cogent mind, and you should do well.
Oh, wow. Let's talk about the La Constance tennis project. How is it going? And you've been teaching people how to play tennis?
Yes. I built a small guest house in Kupong.
Okay.
And then I built a tennis court by it. And one day I came with my family and my kids said, "Daddy, why don't you do something with this?" So they said, "Form a club in there." So from that, the La Constance Tennis Center was established for kids.
Okay.
And it's done extremely well. I have 3 people who maintain the place. I have a teacher, a coach, and a lady. And they've done extremely well recruiting the children and making sure they learn well. I'll have a good networking in the States where I get a lot of equipment, balls, tennis rackets, their shoes. So everything is provided free for the kids.
I should visit there one of these
Yes, it
days.
is very exciting. We have about 40 kids in the program.
Wow.
They come weekends to learn how to play. We provide them the tennis rackets, the balls, their sneakers, everything's provided for them.
Oh.
Among other things, we also help them with their homework. So when they come to the court, an hour before they play, we teach them, go through their homework with them, and then they play the tennis. So it's a very encompassing program that has done extremely well.
Okay.
And actually 2 of the girls were invited to join the national team.
Wow.
And there is no town in Ghana that has something similar to what we have in Akropong.
Definitely.
Yes, the tennis is played in places like Oforudua, Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi. But when you come to the town level, there's no town that has the kind of program that we have.
Oh. Do I get the opportunity to play with you?
It will be very exciting. I am a level 4 player socially. So
I don't know if I can match you. Maybe you'll be my coach. Since I'm so perfecting my skills.
Yes, and having said that, we would also provide you with your tennis racket, your sneakers, everything.
Oh, that's nice.
The La Constance Tennis Center has done extremely well. We have about 40 kids, very devoted kids who come to the place. And whilst on the subject, actually, University of Ghana, we've signed an MOU with the University of Ghana to give sports scholarship for kids of the La Constance Tennis Center to go to Lagos.
Wow. I'm not surprised because I see that you've had a number of recognitions. Let's talk about those recognitions.
Yes, in New York, I got involved in a lot of social activities. and helped a lot of organizations. Actually, there's one organization called Kokoduyam Association,
Okay.
which originates from the Kropong and the Krapim. And I was president of our organization. We got an award from Engineers Association. We got an award from Lawyers Association. I personally have gotten an award for community involvement twice from the National Organization of Ghanaian Associations.
Okay.
I've received the Best Teacher Award from American College of OBGYN. Also, the Rockland County in New York, I was one time responsible for the prenatal services, and I also received a recognition award from that activity as well.
Wow. The kids, the family must be very proud of you.
Yes, actually, saying that when I was graduating as an OBGYN, I invited my mother to come to the States.
Oh, wow.
So at the graduation ceremony, my mother was there. And this is a lady who didn't understand English, a word of English. She was sitting on the table. And because I was the chief resident, I had to give the final address.
Okay.
So I go on the podium and I'm talking. I give a speech. And when I go to sit down, my mother asked me, Kwame, what did you tell them? I didn't know catch home. So she comes in this environment of all Caucasians and a few dotted. And then here is his boy standing in the podium, talking to them. And so my mother, I said, Kwame, I didn't know catch home.
She must be, she must be a proud mother.
Moments in her life.
Oh my goodness.
And I said, Mommy, I told them what you've told me all these years.
Aww.
To be hardworking, to be honest, and be loyal.
Oh,
yes.
She would be fulfilled
and,
at that
that's
time.
One of the things my mother taught me, to give unto society more than you've taken from society.
Wow.
So at this point, I live my life trying to do things to help at all levels.
Oh, very thoughtful of you.
So there are a few things that kind of I feel encouraged to do.
God bless you for the wonderful work you're doing. I'm sure, I mean, which of among the kids, you have 4 kids, how many girls, how many boys?
There's 1 girl and 3 boys.
3 boys. Which among them is following your steps? I mean, the medical path.
Well, I told them
the
I don't want them to
work.
struggle the way I have, so they should go and do better things.
Oh goodness! Medicine is no better thing.
So they are having their own fun, actually.
Okay.
Yes, my daughter is just finished her master's in public health.
Okay.
And
so she's towing your line.
Yes, my son went into business. He just finished Carnegie Mellon.
Okay.
Doing an MBA.
Okay.
And so I said, listen, go and have fun rather than.
What kind of a father are you?
Be restricted in the way we were, you know.
Okay. So I mean, what's your relationship with your kids? What kind of a father are you?
Oh, the relationship is very nice, very fatherly. Yes, they feel very comfortable.
With you?
Yeah, with the family. We're always together doing things, playing tennis, exercising, doing all kinds of things. Oh. I treat them like my mother did.
Okay.
They look at your face, they know what to do.
You don't need to utter a word. Talking about your mother, I suspect that you were very close with your mom. Are there times when you remember that you lost your mom? How long has she been late?
Oh, we lost her probably like 13, 14 years ago.
Is there a time that you remember and then you cry sometimes?
You send me crying almost now.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
That woman is my spirituality.
Oh.
If there's anybody I need to pray to, I pray to that woman.
Oh.
And only one sentence.
Oh.
That's all my prayer.
All the time.
All the time.
And I'm sure
that woman protects me in all kinds of ways.
I'm sure you feel her presence all the time.
Absolutely. La Constance. Every time it's all about La Constance.
What's the meaning of La Constance?
That's her name.
Her name is what?
Her name is Constance Ansa Nkansa.
Okay.
And we want to try to choose a name that it's marketable.
Okay.
We just said let's use Constance, add La in front of it, to make it marketable. So La Constance.
Okay.
Instead of just say Constance, we kind of made it a little French. La Constance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So every minute that woman is my life.
Oh,
yes. That's all my prayer.
I'm sure she's happy wherever she is right now.
She has to.
What do you do in your quiet moment?
Actually, I listen to a lot of music.
Okay.
I think music is my thing. So in my quiet moments, I reflect and listen to music. And I think that's what I do most of the time.
So what genre of music do you love to listen?
I love high life, the older ones.
Okay.
I have all the old high life.
Okay.
I started investing in high life, so I have all of them. Amachi Dede, Kakeku, EKs, Ramblers, mention the name Ampedu, I have all of them.
Wow.
And I spend a lot of time listening to high life. And beside high life, I like smooth jazz.
Okay.
Smooth jazz, guitar-based smooth jazz.
Wow.
So I have a lot of music, and that's what I listen to in my quiet times.
Okay. Do you have, which among these is your favorite?
It would be unfair to them for me to choose a favorite because I love all of them. From the old times, Kakeku, EKs, Ampedu, Ramblers.
Okay.
All of them.
You love them. Okay.
It's a good one with Ramponsa. I love her life.
But you love Amachi Dede too.
Amachi Dede is fine.
Okay. Is it this one? Is it this one? This one we should dance because I know you love dancing, right? Let's do that.
Alright.
Hey, come on, guys, can you see the skills? Na, 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 na. Bum, 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 bum. Hey, come on. Hi. Woo. Look, you really love this music. Thank you so much, Doc, for opening up to us. We really appreciate the good work that you're doing for Mother Ghana. May God bless you. Keep up the good work. Viewers, thank you so much for watching. Same time next week, another exciting edition of PM Personality Profile awaits you. My name is Aisha Brian. Enjoy the rest of our programs.